I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, here with Toto Miranda, Yvonne Lambert, and Josh Lambert, otherwise known as the Octopus Project. Um, Sasquatch Sunset is audacious, provocative, moving, and actually really funny. So I wanted to know straight up, how do you, the three of you, approach the music? Do you lean into the film's more absurdist elements, or do you focus on the wild, natural setting of the film, or do you just do both? Who would like to go first?
First of all, thank you so much for having us here. It's really, really awesome to be here. Um, I think,
Yeah, I would say both. Uh,
Yeah, and I think the Zellner brothers, the filmmakers' approach, kind of went from one to the other. They had initially started, they went into it wanting to do kind of a more documentary style approach to the whole thing and have it be a little bit more removed. But then I think as they got into it, they found it themselves being drawn into the characters and the setting and wanting it to feel weightier and more epic. So we started with some kind of lighter themes, and then as it went on, the it got pulled into a heavier and heavier place and kind of a more epic
yeah.
place. So it was kind of a journey through both, and they all the tones ended up in the film somehow.
Um, you know, I was thinking about the best way to ask this question without spoiling too much of the film, but there's so many ambient electronic sounds, just from my layperson's perspective, organic sampling, unusual instrumentation that I was always trying to listen into and figure out what it was, sometimes with when I wasn't in the moment. And I just wondered, like, if you could talk us through perhaps what was the strangest or most unusual, unexpected instrumentation that you were able to deploy in this score.
I mean, a lot of it was we took like field recordings or would sample ourselves, like playing a saxophone or a drum or something, and then would like way pitch it down, slow it down. A lot of it was, yeah, I mean, field recording stuff as well.
There was one piece we sent in with initial sketches that was just the sound of these ceramic mugs knocking into each other, but slowed down several octaves. And they really responded to that and felt like that really said something about the world they were making. And so from that point, we started slowing everything down and doing lots of very stretched out, pitched down versions of things we'd recorded.
which which really worked because it was about Sasquatches, which we were kind of thinking, what would Sasquatch music be like? As ridiculous as that sounds coming out of my mouth, like it feels like it would be slower and kind of human, but not really exactly.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what I was hoping you would say, because it was kind of like recognizable, but weird, but also heartfelt. And that is a really challenging thing to get right. You could have really stuffed this up. And I love it how the music for me really brings this together. It's a crazy bonkers film, of course, but it's actually really, really moving, and it's really beautiful. And it's about Sasquatches, and that's crazy. So you've worked with the Zellner brothers before. They are wildly creative, obviously. Does that familiarity and your creative alignment over the years impact your willingness to try new things, take risks, and be as weird and as eccentric as possible?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think just because we've been best friends for like 20 plus years. And we know each other so well and each other's tastes. And I think just like, we don't even have to talk about it. We just know like what each other wants. And that gives us so much freedom to just like throw anything we can at them and see what they think. And yeah, it's just like such a beautiful, wonderful collaborative process with those guys.
Yeah, and we feel really comfortable taking risks with them, and they're always game for just kind of the weirder, the better.
And it gets very, very collaborative. We always say when we are working on a movie that it's like we have two more members in the band,
Yeah.
because we work a lot passing ideas between each other, and then when we're working on a film, we just include them in the circle and pass things to them, and they'll do edits or kind of remixes or paste things together in new ways that are surprising to us that we can then incorporate into the cues as they move forward.
Yeah, that must be terribly exciting to just be kind of freed up to just go, let's go crazy here and see what happens. And then you land on something like this that really works. Obviously, it's resonating. The film did so well at film festivals, at Sundance. So I mean, you did something good here. but as I said earlier, you take risks and you just don't know. Let's talk about one particular track. I always sometimes with scores like to focus in on a track, and I love New Horizon because as a film score nerd, I love so many genres, but I love it when some genres are blended or some styles, and you've got ethereal synth ambient sound with melodic acoustic reverie throughout the score, and this track in particular. So talk me through being ambitious by blending orchestral or acoustic with things that are more synth based and ethereal. That is a really challenging thing to get right, I think.
Yeah, I think, I mean, yeah, we're always kind of going for like the textural stuff is sort of first. It's like how to like the sound of it as well as like just also kind of the most important thing. And however we get there, I think is cool with us. I don't know if I personally thought about like the blending of those two of being,
Yeah, I think maybe part of that blend comes from the Zellners pointing to and us naturally loving a lot of the Popol Vuh music from Herzog films. And they kind of do a back and forth sometimes between the synthier or psych stuff and the more guitar-y quasi-folk thing. So I think we were taking a little bit of inspiration from that combination. Although there isn't really that much synth proper in the film, it's a lot of like woodwinds and brass kind of slowed down and treated, which I think helps give it the organic thing and definitely gets it to that ethereal kind of mysterious place, but with a little bit more grit to it.
That's really interesting because I perceived it as more of a synth element, but now that you're explaining how you've slowed down certain organic sounds that you were able to capture, that actually makes so much more sense for the film. And yet, to my ears, I was just so immersed in it, firstly in the story, but also in the emotion that I just assumed that you were fusing those elements. That's really interesting to me.
Yeah, there is a little bit in there, but I think on that cue in particular, it's slowed down flutes, slowed down recorders at the beginning.
Yeah.
and also like sample our voices and stuff.
Oh yeah, nice. Can we talk about deploying the amazing Riley Keough, who will, you know, I actually know her through other people, so I know that she's a really cool person. She's really good to work with. But we have to remember she's Elvis Presley's granddaughter as well, and she's a grunting Sasquatch on this score, and I think she's probably super proud of that as part of her credits, to be honest. When you recorded her vocals, was it just another day in the studio? Was it a fun, ridiculous, memorable day, as I imagine it might have been? That isn't even the most outrageous thing in the score, but I think it's something that a lot of people like to talk about. So who would like to talk us through that?
Yeah, we actually were not in the studio when she recorded. She recorded in LA, and we live in Austin. But David Zellner, the director, one of the directors of the film, he was there and recording it and like, you know, giving us a play-by-play. And during the day, I think we were all just like so nervous to like, you know, hear it and so excited, you know, just over the moon because her voice is just phenomenal. And he sent it like at the end of the day, sent us the recording, and also they did some ADR like grunt pickup work during the recording session, and so he just sent us like the file of everything. And when we got it, the ADR, like the grunts were in there, and then we thought it would be extremely hilarious to edit a version of the song that's just her grunting. And so we did that just as a joke and sent it to David Zellner, and he loved it. And then he immediately sent it to Riley, and she also loved it. So we put it on the record.
Yeah, it's the final track on the album. I implore everybody to listen to it. It's really good. It's a great way to end a really interesting and exciting album. Thank you, the three of you, for joining us today. We're going to bring you back shortly for our group panel.
Thank you so much for having us.